Well, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Linda Bragan. I'm the co-chair of Mayor Cooper's Sustainability Advisory Committee. Thank you for joining us today. You'll be hearing from my co-host shortly, Eric Kopstein. As you probably just heard, today's meeting is being recorded, and the link will be posted on the committee website. So once it is, please share it widely with your networks. We have a very full agenda today. We're going to start with an update from the mayor's office on Metro's ongoing sustainability initiatives. And then we're going to hear from two Nashville-based universities about their sustainability efforts. In a prior committee meeting, we heard from the business community about what they were doing, and we really want to highlight the exciting things that are going on in the academic community as well. And then after that, we're going to hear from our committee work group chairs about their work. If you have any questions for the speakers today, put them in the chat, and Eric and Kendra Abkowitz and I will monitor the chat and pose your questions. So with that, unless there are any questions, I'm going to hand it over to Kendra Abkowitz, the city's Chief Sustainability and Resilience Officer, for an update. Kendra?
Awesome. Thanks, Linda. And happy 2023, everyone. It's great to see you all. And thanks for carving out an hour of your day to spend some time with us. I put together some brief slides. And as you all know, based on prior meetings, my updates are kind of a quick overview of a subset and the vast majority of activities that Metro Nashville may be tackling right now. And so just because you don't see an update or an activity that you're aware of that may be ongoing that has connections with sustainability doesn't mean it's no longer happening or it's not important. This is, again, just intended to make sure we're regularly providing feedback to this group about the work that we're doing and giving the opportunity to engage. So you'll hear kind of some repeats of past work and updates on the status of that, and then also some new items today. So first up, this is a topic that we have discussed in the past, and that's our heat mapping effort. So as you all will recall, last August, we did engage in a heat mapping effort where we had volunteers drive 10 routes across the city and collect tens of thousands of temperature and humidity measurements across the city. And so we worked with NOAA's consultant to basically collect that data, package that data in a GIS format. I wanted to share the update with this group that we now have the basic report that was developed by Kappa Strategies, that's the partner and the consultant of NOAA, available on our heat mapping webpage. Again, it's about a 10-page report, so it doesn't go into intimate detail, but it does start talking about some of the trends that we were able to observe. And then we actually also have data available, basic GIS data available on the Metro website. We have not, while it is available to the public, we haven't really pushed release of that or publicized it because we are in the process of working with stakeholder partners to develop a story map that intends to be a much more comprehensive resource that talks about what urban heat is, what the risks are. It tells the human and kind of experiential side of heat, and then allows us to really analyze and understand that data. And so we have an incredible intern who's a senior at Vanderbilt. His name is Zach Wampler. He is actually spearheading that project for us, again, with our great partners across the city. And we're targeting launch of that story map in Earth Day 2023. So more to come on that. I just wanted to give a status update on that particular project, and that we're very excited to be continuing progress on that front. Next up, I wanted to make sure I shared information with this group about our fall conversation covering sustainability and resilience in the East Bank. And this was a really, really great event where we drew on subject matter experts across the community, some of those internal to Metro, some of those external to Metro, to talk about the opportunity that we have to make the East Bank sustainable and resilient and kind of bake that into development. And so a lot lot of the topics that were discussed during that panel touched on connectivity, mobility, and sustainable transit, what we can do to protect and restore tree canopy in that space and create access to green space. We touched on waste, both during the actual development of that property and during its operation, where we may be able to use district approaches to infrastructure rather than doing that on a parcel by parcel basis. And then also nature-based solutions to extreme weather events, in this case, specifically flooding. And so on this slide, I've provided a link to the recorded conversation. I wanted to give a shout out and thank you to Scott Potter with Metro Water Services, Harriet Brooks with the Planning Department, Mikhail Houghton with Cumberland River Compact, and Erica Weeks with Hastings for being our fantastic panelists and participants in that conversation. So again, thank you. This was intended to be a companion event to some of the other events that were hosted on various other topics germane to East Bank. So, so really excited that we were able to highlight sustainability and resilience as part of the East Bank conversations. Also, recent news that we announced earlier this month is the onset of every other week recycling. This is an enhancement in services that we have been planning for quite some time and talking about for quite some time. And due to a variety of circumstances, had to place that on hold. And so we were really excited to announce that earlier this month. That will start January 30th, 2023. And we're really trying to get the word out to all residents to make sure they're aware and knowledgeable of the new collection schedules and reminders. And so I've provided that link on this slide as well. I want to give a huge shout out to Metro Waste Services, specifically John Honeysucker and Sharon Smith and the Zero Waste team for really making this possible and pushing this one across the finish line. So we're really excited. Also, recent news earlier this month, Nashville now has a CPACER program. So this is a really important program for the city because it becomes a mechanism to unlock some innovative financing that can help us perform energy efficiency improvements and achieve greenhouse gas reductions in our commercial building stock. And as I've noted here on this slide, 20% of our community greenhouse gas emissions are attributed to energy consumption in commercial spaces. So you might be wondering, what is CPACER? So CPACER stands for Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy and Resiliency. And 2 years ago, the Tennessee State Legislature passed enabling legislation at the state level that allowed local municipalities to adopt their own CPACER programs. And so we essentially, over the past, I would say, 6 months have been working on developing and then actually working through the approval process for our own local CPACER program. So what this is it's a financing approach that allows owners of commercial properties to seek financing from private lenders for clean energy and resiliency improvements. And so you'll see on this slide the types of improvements that can be financed with this specific arrangement. So they're very germane to all things sustainability, which is why this makes this really exciting. Again, this funding arrangement can only be used for these types of projects. And you might be wondering, okay, well, what is the metro or local government hook? Well, it's because the repayment of that financing occurs via a voluntary special assessment on the property that's billed and collected as part of annual property tax bills and then transmitted back to the private lender. So there is a tie with the property lien there. So this was passed on January 17th by Metro Council. Major shout out to Councilmember Berkeley Allen for really championing this for us. Over time and with Metro Council. The Metropolitan Trustee is actually going to be our program administrator. And so I want to also give a shout out to Erica Gilmore for her willingness to try something new and make this program a reality. So please spread the word. That program is open and taking applications. We have received, I think, some early feedback on some things that we could potentially do to make the program more efficient. And so we are actively considering those potential changes post-adoption. This also was a recommendation that was included in the climate action plan. And so again, wanted to also make sure I was communicating that that we have followed through with this. Joining me in the mayor's office working on resilience, we have Kristen Straub, and she is a Fuse Corps fellow and will specifically be working with us for the next, at this point, 11, almost 10 months on building resilience into city operations. Kristen, if you get a chance to meet her, and I'll be sure to bring her in front of this group next time, has a wealth of expertise managing really large and significant infrastructure projects in a variety of different settings, both here domestically and internationally in developing countries. And so I'm really excited to have her working with me on this really, really important topic. As we all know, extreme weather events happen, disasters happen, and being well equipped to respond to those is really critical. So to date, she spent a huge amount of time engaging in what's called a listening tour. So really meeting with departments and stakeholders who have knowledge in this area in the Nashville region, trying to understand their thoughts and perspectives on resilience and opportunities for us to improve. She'll be working really closely with NDOT and Metro Water Services in particular to develop tools. Again, the intent is that they will be available and applicable to all of our Metro departments, but those are two early adopters that, given sort of the scope of their responsibilities and their interest in sustainability and resilience, are a really great fit for her to work hand in hand with. And again, we'll be developing those toolkits and then sharing those with other departments when it's ready. She's also been a huge help in terms of supporting grant applications for the many great opportunities that are available for sustainability work at the federal level right now. And last but certainly not least, I wanted to put a plug in for our participatory budgeting program. So some of you may have heard about participatory budgeting. To date, under the fabulous leadership of my colleague Fabian Bedney, have been engaging in 2 pilot rounds of participatory budgeting, where in Bordeaux and North Nashville, we have given budget delegates the opportunity to identify projects within their community for investment of Nashville Metro government dollars, and then give the surrounding community an opportunity to vote and select which projects they want to move forward. We're really excited that Metro Council just approved an expansion of that process, and 10 million of our ARP dollars will actually be going towards a citywide participatory budgeting process next year. So again, really excited and wanted to make sure that this group was aware of that process, because I think it's a great opportunity for us to really foster active engagement and participation and equity and ownership of what happens in our community. But also it's a great opportunity for us to, where there is alignment with eligibility, pursue sustainability projects in the community. So on this slide, you'll see a brief 4-step process. That's kind of a high-level overview of the process, but really the first step is going to be creating a volunteer steering committee that basically creates this governance structure that will apply to the participatory budgeting process. As noted before, because we have a pilot and we've piloted this for 2 years, we have a really, really great first start, but there are going to be some unique elements, knowing that we are expanding this citywide. And so if this is something that interests you, I encourage you to volunteer for that steering committee and get engaged. It's a really, really rewarding process. Then there will be a time period where Davidson County residents can actually submit infrastructure project ideas, assuming they do meet those eligibility requirements, as long as they are 14 years of age and older. So again, a great opportunity for us as residents to highlight things that we think need to be changed in our community. And again, a great opportunity to highlight some of those projects that overlap really nicely with sustainability, the environment, environment resilience. Then there will be a group of volunteer budget delegates who really narrow that project list down to those that are eligible and make that a ballot for voting. And then all of us as residents will have the opportunity to vote on those. So again, the whole intent of participatory budgeting is getting the public involved in directly administering those funds. So again, that's a high level overview of the process. What I wanted to do is also provide the link to the website, the participatory budgeting website, where you can find more information here and learn more about the specifics and details. And my colleague, Fabian Bedney, who is heading this project up, will be happy to answer questions as well. And I would direct you to him if you want to learn more. And then last but not least, I also wanted to talk about a couple of our ongoing projects. Again, you may have heard about these before, but wanted to provide brief updates. Our facilities benchmarking and solar feasibility assessment projects are ongoing. Those are for facilities benchmarking. We have completed the 2021 benchmarking period and are reviewing those results with our departments and trying to identify opportunities for energy efficiency improvements. Solar feasibility assessment, we have for the most part completed our site visits and are now transitioning into the cost benefit analysis phase and hope to have some results to report out later this spring. We continue our conversations about streetlight retrofits from high pressure sodium to LEDs with NES and are hoping to be able to share something with the public soon. C&D recycling is still a hot topic, as is fleet electrification. And then Nashville either has entered into or will be entering into two really exciting programs. One is the Urban Bird Treaty Program that we are applying to become a member of. And then the second is the AARP age-friendly community process. Both of those have reports and identification of goals and actions that the city will take. So we're very excited to be working with a variety of different partners and stakeholders on both of those. And then also working very closely with MNPS, Parks and Recreation, and the Trust for Public Land on efforts to increase access to parks. So with that, I will turn it back over to Linda.
Yikes, that is just a huge amount of things. And I know you and your staff of 100, is it, are working on all of these things that but you and Laurel in particular, Laurel Creech, who's on the line. I mean, it's just really incredible what you all are accomplishing and the sort of in the breadth of it, right? I mean, from buildings to heat mapping to budgeting. So thank you so much for that. If you have questions for Kendra, put them in the chat. We can circle back to them. What we wanted to do next was hear from two universities in Nashville about what they're working on. Unfortunately, it looks as if Dr. Johnson from TSU has not joined the call yet, and we were going to start with him. So we obviously had some kind of scheduling glitch, but I have no worries because I know the other university, Vanderbilt, who is going to present today. And I do really want to emphasize that obviously other universities, I see Dodd's on the line. I mean, Lipscomb has been a leader on sustainability. Belmont is doing a lot. This was just sort of, picking two examples, but Dodd, I hope you'll chime in, especially because it looks like we have some extra time if Dr. Johnson isn't able to join us, and feel free to, update us on what's happening at Lipscomb. But right now I'm going to hand it over to Eric Kopstein, who is the Vice Chancellor for Administration over Sustainability, Transportation, Mobility, Facilities, Dining, several other areas. Vanderbilt was recently ranked a top green college by the Princeton Review, ranked 7 out of 700 colleges and universities. So that's quite an accomplishment. And Eric has really been an incredible sustainability champion at Vanderbilt. I have watched it personally. He spearheaded the Future VU Land Use Planning Initiative, of which sustainability is a core value. He also led efforts to help Vanderbilt reach its carbon neutrality goals through an innovative partnership on large-scale renewable energy projects through TVA new Green Invest program. And you're going to hear about these and many more initiatives he's working on. Eric, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. Well, First of all, thank you. Thank you for that really generous introduction, Linda. And can everybody see those slides okay? Yeah, okay, good. Well, geez, thank you. Again, I truly appreciate the opportunity today to really share a brief update on some, not all, some of the sustainability initiatives happening at Vanderbilt University. And I'll just start. I'm going to mention a few of the names of some of the people I saw already on the Zoom today as I go through some of these things. But everything I'm about to talk about, again, Linda's intro was really generous. It's because of all of the great people I get to work with, many of whom are on this Zoom today. And let me start by, kind of quoting a couple of things that we put at the front end of the recommendation report to the mayor from this very committee. And we all know there's overwhelming scientific evidence that it's really human activities that drive climate change, and the outcomes from climate change, as we know and see more and more frequently, can really be catastrophic. We also know that cities make up over half of the world's population, and they consume more than 2/3 of the world's energy. So they play a critical role in climate change mitigation, as well as adaptation and responding, to the negative impacts of climate change. That's really one reason why I think the work of our mayor's Sustainability Advisory Committee is so important. And I also believe that Vanderbilt itself, within the context of Nashville, is akin to a city within the city. And with all of these really truly pressing issues and challenges at hand, I like to think that Vanderbilt is well positioned to provide, some leadership on sustainability. Okay, there we go. So the Princeton review data here, I think, tells an important story. High school students care a lot about a university's position on sustainability, and students consider this when they make choices about college. This is an important example of where our business interests as a university really intersect with sustainability. It's a topic that we feel like we have to pay attention to. It's critically important in and of itself, and our stakeholders, our students and others, really expect Vanderbilt to exert leadership on the sustainability front. This next slide is a list of Vanderbilt's campus planning guiding principles that we developed now quite a few years ago. And there's two quick points I want to make. One, principles need to be durable and long lasting, and I think these are. Two, sustainability, as highlighted here, is really embedded in our foundational values at Vanderbilt.
Hey, Eric.
I'm not
Yeah.
seeing your slides advance.
Oh, you're not? I'm sorry.
I don't know if others are, but I'm not on the Zoom.
Yep. If you can
No,
go to the
there
go to
you
the
go.
top, Eric. Yeah, you can advance there. You can go to slideshow and click that as well. But we should be able to see it
Okay.
now.
Can people see this now? Are we okay? I'm sorry about that.
Yes.
Okay. Did we advance there? Okay. Yeah, so this is a lesson learned. I should let you drive my slides. So this is this graphic here. This is a brief overview of really many of the steps that Vanderbilt's been taking really this century that contribute to making our institution more sustainable. A couple of examples: we started publishing annual greenhouse gas inventories as early as 2008. We established Earth-friendly move-in days back in 2010. We decommissioned our coal plant. Some people may remember that. That was the most visible point at Vanderbilt back in 2014. And we finalized our future VU campus master plan that emphasizes sustainability as a core objective, among other things. So we plan to do a lot more. And I think setting goals is really important. It gives an institution like Vanderbilt something to strive towards achieving, and something that can be measured and, importantly, reported out to the community. So we have announced some bold goals. We have announced that we will be carbon neutral by 2050, and I'll get back to that, and that we'll reach zero waste by 2030. So this is a quick breakdown of Vanderbilt's greenhouse gas profile for those of you who are into, kind of scope 1, 2, and 3. And it emphasizes, I think, at the highest level, the need to attack carbon reduction from a variety of angles. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing on the electricity front. So one way we're moving forward towards our carbon neutrality is through a recently announced large-scale renewable energy partnership that's with TVA and NES. It's called Green Invest. Shout out to Tony Richmond, who I think I saw on the Zoom. And this is going to create large-scale solar installations, in our case in Tennessee, to provide 100% of Vanderbilt's electrical consumption from green energy. This really is one big step for Vanderbilt, as it's going to eliminate about 27% of Vanderbilt's overall greenhouse gas footprint by about 2025, when all of these installations are up and running. And I like to think it's a major step forward, not just for Vanderbilt, but for the entire TVA region, because this Green Invest program, again, that we created in partnership with TVA and NES, was designed not only to meet Vanderbilt's green energy needs, but to be scalable and available to other organizations across the TVA region. So I don't have the time today to discuss the nuances, let's say, between fully, partially, and deregulated electricity markets, as interesting as they are. But I'm going to summarize this slide by making really two key points. One, we achieved at Vanderbilt a large-scale renewable energy solution that's available to other employers across the TVA region, so other institutions can pursue this same approach. And two, I just want people to know I'm really happy to explain to any potentially interested parties how this framework works. I'm a big supporter and fan of it. Here's a picture. This is a fun picture of a groundbreaking. So that's Scott Spence on the left. He's the president and CEO of Duck River Electric. This is down in Bell Buckle, Tennessee. We have Jeanette Mills from TVA in the picture. In the middle, you can see DaCosta Jenkins, our former and beloved CEO of NES. Daniel Diermeyer, second from the right, Chancellor of Vanderbilt, and then Matt Kisber, who's a partner at Silicon Ranch. So that was a very exciting moment for us in the last year or so, the groundbreaking. And this installation is going to be up and running very, very shortly. I'm very excited about that. So now I'm going to move on to what we're doing on buildings and on the campus. So one aspect of our future VU framework calls for an overarching campus-wide target of 50% green space, 25% hardscape, and 25% building footprint. So the current campus breakdown is shown on the graph that's a little bit more to the right. I see this is from 2020. I need to update this, but you can see we have more progress to make to get to our goals. And as development continues on campus, we're going to move closer and closer towards our target. And again, this is another example of goals against which we can track our progress and in a transparent way report to the community. And you can see on the right some pictures of what we refer to as the West End neighborhood, which is around 25th and West End. And this is an example of creating green and accessible spaces in an area that before was quite the contrary, and that we think are not only sustainable, but they're really worthy of our community members and our people and align with our values as an institution. So a little bit more about what we're doing on buildings and campus. So this graphic highlights our green buildings. We have 22 LEED certified buildings. We have a WELL certification. We have 1 Living Building Challenge PEDAL certification. And as a result of our work on the building front, I'm really proud that Vanderbilt back in 2020 was honored with a leadership award from the U.S. Green Building Council for our achievements in green building and our commitment to really creating a healthy and sustainable future. I'm also excited about our future prospects in terms of the built environment. We have many capital projects that are completing, that are underway, that are in planning, and we really do intend to go further to ensure we always deliver a very high quality, forward-looking, and sustainable built environment. This one I have to give a shout out. I think I saw Aaron Hofgenscheel on the call. Aaron was really the progenitor of our future VU Move VU plan. And the goal here that Aaron really helped us establish and that we're pursuing is shifting our mode share and reducing the drive alone rate to campus from about 77% to about 55% by 2025. We're revisiting these goals a little bit in kind of the post-COVID changes that have occurred to some of the commute patterns and stuff. But to make progress in this regard, what we're doing is really enhancing and promoting sustainable commute and work options. And we're incentivizing commuters to change their behavior. And you can see on the right, MoveVU outlines what we describe as a mobility hierarchy, where walking, biking, public transit are prioritized wherever possible over the personal car, and particularly over the personal single occupancy car. And then meanwhile, we're working to electrify Vanderbilt's vehicle fleet by 2030 and augmenting EV charging infrastructure across campus. Next, what are we doing on waste? So I mentioned, I think earlier, our zero waste goal, which is focused on reducing waste generation by about 30% and achieving a 90% diversion rate from landfills by 2030, which I think is terrific. We're making great progress towards that. In 2020, we announced the elimination of single-use plastics. This is the whole case study in and of itself that I don't have time to truly unpack, but these efforts save more than 430,000 plastic bottles a year, which by our calculations are enough to cover our entire football field almost 1.5 times annually. You can see on the lower left, we reuse all of our fallen trees. When a tree falls, a heritage tree in particular, we take it out to our chestnut property out by Fort Negley, we let it dry, we mill it, and then we incorporate those trees in various ways into our capital projects, which I think is a really neat way to reuse those beautiful parts of the Vanderbilt campus. And then meanwhile, we are making significant progress on our waste goals as well by implementing solar trash compactors, composting food waste, increasing food waste collection sites, and we're always adding more and more hydration stations on campus. I've touched on this, I think, a little bit, but it's critical, really critical to keep the community involved and engaged in our efforts. So the graphic on the left shows, some of our approaches, which include Instagram, websites, events, newsletters, internships, Twitter, and more to try to get the word out and to encourage active participation across the community. We have to build and maintain trust and accountability around our efforts. And I mentioned earlier, we publish an annual greenhouse gas inventory, and we report very overtly to the community about progress we've made towards our goal. And then meanwhile, on the broader Nashville front, as you all know, I've been co-chairing this terrific committee with Linda. And that's really been fun and enriching for me. And the committee, as I mentioned, published an advisory report to the mayor that includes a broad range of recommendations to help reduce the city's carbon footprint. You heard about all the amazing progress that Kendra, under her extraordinary leadership, the city's making. So exciting to be a part of that. The Vanderbilt Green Fund. This is a fun and wonderful way through really a small amount of annual money that we allocate to engage the creativity and the proactivity of our student body. And you can see at the bottom a few examples of projects that were proposed by students, kind of judged, and then ultimately funded by the Green Fund and implemented on the Vanderbilt campus. We also have a community garden. This is really popular with the Vanderbilt community. I might have skipped one. Oh yeah, there we go. The community garden. And this used to be way out on the far reaches of campus near Blakemore and Vanderbilt Place, way on the corner. And during COVID, we actually relocated the community garden to the center of campus from the periphery. And it's been a wonderful way for students to really decompress and connect to the natural environment. Here you see a few student designed posters about programming and events that really serve to activate and bring further attention to the community garden. Now I'm going to move on to another topic. Next fall, Vanderbilt's first phase of graduate and professional housing is going to open on the extreme east end of campus in Midtown at 20th and Broadway. And there's a lot I could say about this project, but to be brief, and particularly in the context of sustainability, bringing graduate and professional students closer to campus will reduce pollution and stress from commuting. It's going to provide an enriching and sustainably built environment for our graduate and professional students to thrive. And another thing I'm proud of is this project is even going to include a local cafe run by Eighth and Roast, as well as a local sustainability-minded grocer. The Turnip Truck is going to have a location in this complex, which is terrific. So I could really justify an entire presentation on Vanderbilt's campus dining efforts alone. And I want to give a shout out to Dave Turkile, who I saw, and who really leads these efforts. He is just a massive proponent of our sustainability efforts on campus. And here you just see a few examples of what we're doing on the dining in front, including a new recyclable container program that reduces food waste and physical waste, the elimination of single-use plastics, which I touched on earlier, a farm to campus local food sourcing strategy, and even support for student and faculty startup companies, including Radical Shoots, which produces sustainably created supercharged, really microgreens. I also saw Jacqueline Mathupi on this call, and I didn't have time in this presentation today to cover all of the wonderful ways that we partner with our Innovation Center, the Wondery, but she's been very involved in helping Radical Shoots really take root. So we're proud of our accomplishments here at Vanderbilt on the sustainability front, but we like to say proud but not satisfied. So proud but not satisfied. And we kind of liked it when we announced a 2050 carbon neutrality goal. However, after we did that several years ago now, we and our community really pushed ourselves to move faster. So with that in mind, what we started to do was explore ways to reach our carbon neutrality targets even much more quickly. And those explorations led us into several different areas, one of which is carbon offsets. And because I know we're short on time, I'm not going to go into this slide and what a carbon offset is and its definition. I'm sure many of you are very familiar with the topic, but the takeaway here is back in 2021, Vanderbilt identified a partner called Climate Vault to bring to Vanderbilt what I really think of as an interim solution, whereby the university collaborates with Climate Vault to use existing cap and trade markets to offset carbon at the same annual level that Vanderbilt produces carbon, and with the broader intention of sparking investment and growth in carbon removal technology markets. There's a lot to unpack here, and to truly do this justice, this process, which is outlined on the slide, would involve much more time than we have today. But we're proud that we're doing this interim solution while we pursue what I think of as more foundational ways of eliminating our entire carbon footprint. And then as we look forward to the future, Vanderbilt really is an institution that I think is truly innovative, and we're always striving to be better at what we do. And we get better, we think, by exploring and trying out new ideas and daring to grow. So we're working right now with a group called ClearLoop. Some of you may know ClearLoop. Maybe we even have some ClearLoop people on the call today, I'm not sure. But we're exploring right now some really interesting and I think innovative new ideas they've brought to the market to offset carbon. And I'm really optimistic we'll have more to report out on in that regard soon. And we appreciate at Vanderbilt the opportunity to work with really such sophisticated and forward-thinking partners on potentially impactful solutions like this. So that's really all I have today, and I'm sure that was more than enough. But anyone,
it was barely anything.
Yeah. My final thing is, like, anyone, I geek out on this stuff. I could go for hours and hours, and I'm passionate about this. And if there's anything I've talked about where anybody would like to learn more about anything we've discussed today, please reach out to me via email, and I'd be happy to chat. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And I mean, it truly is a journey, and it's been 20 years since I've been at Vanderbilt, and it's just been a sea change, with your work and Dave Turquoise, you mentioned, it's just really incredible. And to have, you as a mentor to others that want to do this kind of work is really wonderful. It does not look to me like I've been emailing with him, but it doesn't look like we have succeeded in getting Dr. Johnson on the line. What I was going to suggest is we do need to get work group reports, but I did want to give Dodd, if you wanted to say anything, and Dr. Paget, I see you're on the line as well. And I didn't know if you wanted to say anything about the work that you're, doing at TSU, or we can, just reboot this and have TSU present on another day. But since I gave Dr. Paget no warning whatsoever, Dodd, do you want to say anything about what Lipscomb's doing? And then if Dr. Paget wants to jump in too.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to share, something a little more detailed later if that helps. But we, our focus in 2007 was in launching an academic program, and so we created the first comprehensive undergrad and graduate sustainability degree focused program in the Southeast. Since that time, we've graduated alumni who designed the Model 3 manufacturing line at Tesla and has now moved on to Rivian and is designing the Rivian truck manufacturing line and the Amazon electric delivery vehicles. The founder of the compost company is one of our alumni. A Deloitte supply chain expert is one of our alumni. The head of commercial energy at TVA, Jacqueline Matupi, was mentioned earlier with the wonderful things she's doing at the Wondery. The head of environmental management for Bridgestone in North and South America that replaced Greer Tidwell was one of our master's program alumni. A lot of you probably know of Will Paddock, who started WAP Sustainability. He started that consulting practice while he was in our program, and now he's got 50 employees and travels all over the world doing ESG, carbon footprint analysis, life cycle, and other green business consulting services. What we're most excited about is that we've graduated more women than men in our program, and we have 4 alumni from the Middle East. And just as one kind of interesting statistic, we've had 17 engineers go through the program from 10 different subdisciplines. So our goal all along was to try to green up every profession. Only about 10% of our students come from undergraduate backgrounds with environmental science specific training. So most of our students, 90%, come from non-environmental fields, and that's been our primary our focus is greening up and adding sustainability to the world. Another kind of interesting demographic is that about more than 80% of our students on the Myers-Briggs scale come in as intuitives, and more than 80% come in as J's, or process, structure, rule-oriented kind of perspectives. We thought that was kind of fascinating. We're doing kind of a 15-year retrospective on all the folks who've been through the program, and just to kind of learn a little bit about what kind of professionals are attracted to sustainability. But on campus, we haven't done a lot in terms of physical sustainability development really since we built 5 lead classroom buildings, 4 with ground source heating and cooling. We just launched a partnership. Our CFO just launched a partnership with Snyder Electric to reevaluate everything on campus and to try to come up with a master plan to deal with the energy efficiency and climate impacts. And we're still processing a lot of internal awareness inside of our broader culture. And last summer, we had our first Christian Scholars Conference focusing on climate and the livability of the planet. Dr. Catherine Hayhoe was the plenary speaker. I'm thankful to Kendra that she brought the mayor out to help welcome her properly to campus. The largest crowd we've ever had attend that conference gave her a standing ovation. And that's a big deal in our culture for people to be willing to participate in a hard discussion with a lot of different perspectives. And so we're still working at it. And I just want to let Vanderbilt know that actually we asked Vanderbilt to come to that conference and display. We want to try to create kind of a competitive dynamic with all of our Church of Christ schools who were visiting to show them what Vanderbilt was doing. We had several Vanderbilt experts that participated in our panel discussions. And every time I've been on a podcast in the last 6 months or on Channel 5, the talk show that they do, I've been singing the praises of Vanderbilt's investments in solar energy and its climate action and everything they're doing on campus. So we're proud of the metal of iron being sharpened by iron across the way in town, and I appreciate the chance to share a little bit with you this afternoon.
Okay, that was awesome. It was as if you'd had days to prepare. And for those of you, I realize, it only says Dodd on your picture. So for anyone who doesn't know, that is Dodd Galbraith, who is the director and an associate professor at the Institute of Sustainable Practice at Lipscomb University. So we want to get to the work groups, and I don't think that Dr. Johnson's been able to join us, but please shout if you did. David, I don't know if you want to say anything or you want to pass and do a TSU presentation next time. Totally up to you.
Yeah, making me feel like I'm getting some of the same medicine that I get from class when I use the Socratic method with my students. And, put them on the spot. I was curious, which Dr. Johnson was supposed to present?
Curtis?
Oh, it was Curtis. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, maybe next time.
I don't know something must have just come up because we were emailing back and forth. So, but
yeah, he's the chief of staff. So anything.
Yeah, things happen, right? When you're chief of staff, things happen. Well, hopefully we'll hear from him another time. But not to put you on the spot, but you are doing some really great work. And I know, for example, you're working with the Nashville Environmental Justice Initiative. And I know you do a lot of interesting mapping work. So we can save it for another time, or feel free to jump in.
Oh, yeah. Just I can probably elaborate more on the work that we're doing in collaboration with the Deep South Center for Environmental Justice and the the Robert Bullard Center for Climate and Environmental Justice at Texas Southern University, the other HBCU, TSU. I guess probably one of the most exciting things that we've done is, or that we're doing now, is the Justice 40, whatever you want to call it, initiative is out there, and environmental justice communities are trying to find ways to maximize their ability to take advantage of all the funding that's out there. And a lot of that funding is determined via definition of whether a community is advantaged or disadvantaged via the climate and environmental justice screening tool. So under Dr. Robert Bullard's leadership, we formed the HBCU Environmental Justice technical team. So we have a team of some of the top GIS and geoscience experts from HBCUs. And in response, we've developed our own tool. Because the CGIS tool, at first, still does not include race in determining what communities are advantaged or disadvantaged, which ignores 400 years of history, but I'm not going to elaborate on that. We have developed a tool that absolutely includes race as a variable. And also if you've used the CGIS tool for Justice 40 assessment, not only does it not include race, it is also not built on a geographic information systems platform. So the tool that we've created is built on an ArcGIS platform, which allows communities to do much more in-depth analysis on how they are impacted by a variety of environmental variables, whether it be air pollution, water pollution, economic, or what have you. Can't do that with the CGIS tool. With the CGIS tool, you're disadvantaged or you're not. And gentrification plays a huge role in skewing the results of the CGIS tool. Just a few gentrifiers can completely skew the economic landscape of a community. But the next thing that we're working on is a tool that's going to track these Justice 40 funds to ensure that 40% of those funds do go to disadvantaged communities. And so even though the CEQ has created a tool, right now we're going to create a tool that is in beta phase right now, but we'll be releasing it probably by this summer. So I can elaborate on that much more later on, but that's what's happening
Wow.
at TSU.
Wow, I mean, that's incredible. You're really working on the cutting edge, and the community impact tools are just, I mean, they're critical. And also I'm really glad you're going to be tracking where those investments are going, because it's a lot of money to manage, and you can imagine that we need some watchdogs on that. So really, really important work. All right, well, thank you so much for stepping in, and we're going to go now to our work group chairs, and the first, and we're going to hear what they're working on. And the first group is the work group on general or public education and outreach, and that's co-chaired by Sue Ballard-Ruiz, also TSU, and Holly Baird from Milepost Consulting. I don't know who wants to go first. I think, Sue, you were going to talk about the photo contest, and then maybe Holly, you can jump in.
Okay. Hopefully everybody has already received the email that had the flyer, possibly several times. We've sent it out to different organizations, including aftercare programs, colleges and universities, high schools. Urban Green Lab has sent it out to their stakeholders. I know I've talked to Dodd, Eric, and Tony about sending it out. Unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of response. As I said before the meeting started, we've had 3 submissions. Part of it may be because we did it over the holidays. Dodd had a theory that we're just kind of behind the times, I think, in students submitting photos. So I have, we still have until February 15th for the deadline that we currently have. If you've had a chance to look on the mayor's website, we are asking that submitters give us a little information about the photo that they're submitting and how it's related to sustainability in Nashville. My plan B is to try to get the actual committee members that are here, that are in the big committee, to maybe do their own submissions, because having the photo contest is really just one part of the education plan. The big part would come in when we have the exhibit, because with the exhibit, we would have the photos displayed, and then we would have information beside them on what sustainability really is, or how it's related and what we could do. And so those exhibits in the community centers and the nature centers would be a big part of the education. So what I would like to do is maybe give us another week, and then just kind of your feedback on, and what do you think about people within our committee, because we are the Sustainability Advisory Committee, submitting, so that we can move forward with the education aspect.
That sounds great. I really wanted to submit, but I thought it might not be appropriate. So as long as I know it's not being judged, I have a lot of things I would like to submit. I hope everyone will. I mean, I bet everyone here takes photos related to to sustainability in some way. So thank you for spearheading that. I also will say the college students I know would submit on the last day of the deadline.
That's true too.
So we should also keep that in mind as well. So thank you so much. And we'll follow up with the committee on getting people to submit, and also just to get the word out. This is an awesome opportunity. So the more you can share it in your networks, the better. And maybe we can, put together some more social media posts and things that people can send out on their socials. So I think Holly is not going to speak today, but she's welcome to if she would like to jump in. And if not, we will go. We'll go to the next group, which is the Youth and Families Sustainability Education Work Group. And that's co-chaired by Dr. Wingfield, who I think did at the end of the day end up joining us. I know we overlapped with his class. Dr. Wingfield's from Fisk, and then Lawrence Langhook from Deloitte. And I think we're handing it over right now to Lawrence.
Thank you so much. And Robert, I'm glad you made it. So you can keep us honest on all of this. We're really excited about what our work group has been able to achieve. we have put together a family environmental sustainability action plan, and we've been working closely with Vanderbilt on the video. Robert, do you want to chime in and talk about the video a little bit? Because I know it's a little bit nearer and dear to your heart. You know the script a little bit more by heart than I do.
Mute.
Yeah.
But the key for the video is to provide a brief direction for the actual development of the plan. As you know, what we're focusing on is having youth and families develop a sustainability action plan for their family, and using either the EPA carbon footprint tool or the Nature Conservancy carbon footprint calculator tool. And then after they go through that, they identify some areas they want to improve and develop a plan to improve those. So the purpose of the video, which we're very thankful for Vanderbilt's support in terms of developing that video, would be to give in a couple minutes directions and support for actually putting the plan together. And we anticipate that we would have, in addition to voice, actually, it's been suggested by Todd, who works at Vanderbilt there, to actually have a live image who would actually provide the voice for that. And then, you know, we're gonna really stretch it and try to get a diverse family to actually sit around the table and actually show them actually working through developing a plan. So that's kind of like the long goal. And we've got started, you know, in December, thanks to Vanderbilt, and we're moving forward. What we really have to firm up is who would be that actual voice and face, and then who would be the actual family members that get highlighted in that. We're talking about doing something that's rarely done nowadays, and let's have the family sit around the kitchen table and work on developing something, because rarely do people sit around, take time sitting around the table to do anything these days. But we want to get the family engaged and everybody contributing and working toward reducing the carbon footprint of the family.
That's awesome. Really, really great concept. Lawrence, are you going to add anything? I'm a little mindful of time. I want to get make sure the last work group gets to a quick update, but that's fantastic. Okay, so our last work group report is from the Business Community Work Group, which is co-chaired by David Turquelle from Vanderbilt, Mark Deutschman from Village Real Estate, and now Todd Lawrence from Urban Green Lab, who's replacing Katie Poss, who moved on to a new job, but she just did an incredible amount of work on the committee, which is really greatly appreciated. Todd, do you want to give a quick update, close us out in 2 minutes?
Sure. And Mark and David, please hop in here. I'll be really quick. Again, our goal here is around the climate action plan, and to make sure that workplaces in Nashville, A, know what our climate action plan is, because we suspect that most don't, and B, I'll help align them with the tenets of that plan. And as you know, all of you worked on developing the climate action plan. There are several pillars around climate and energy, green buildings, waste, mobility, and so forth. So we really wanted to come up with some sort of easy way to kind of just gauge whether or not workplaces are aware and aligned. And we've been working with a group called Globant, organization called Globant, which was introduced to us by Jacqueline at the Wandery, to help develop a pilot or sort of a beta test, a platform that can help to assess the extent to which workplaces are aware and aligned with the climate action plan. And they've been terrific. They couldn't join us today, but another time I'll show you what that beta platform looks like. It's really awesome. It provides a score for you to see exactly how aligned you are. And then once we know any deficiencies in that alignment, then our group will send out pre-made lists of existing resources and certifications those workplaces can pursue to improve their score and be better aligned with our CAP. So more to come on that, but we're going to be piloting this with the 6 or 7 organizations on our committee first before we launch anything in the city. That's far down the line, but we're just exploring what the possibilities are right now. So thanks again.
Great. Thank you, Todd. Really important project to get the business community involved in implementing the CAP. So thank you all so much for the great presentations. It's really inspiring how much is happening in our city. Our next quarterly meeting is April 13th from 1 to 2, and we hope to see you then. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you. Bye.